The results are in and World's Strongest Man 2020 is over. We have a winner. Guess who it is?
Ciao, homie.
So the World's Strongest Man 2020 has finally come to an end after an intriguing week of injuries, tornadoes, hurricanes, overperformers, underperformers, changes in venue, changes in implements, changes in events, and we finally have a winner. And I've dug up this Reddit Excel sheet that Big Loz has been using all along to fuel his analysis, and amazingly enough, it's really similar to the spreadsheet I've put together from scratch myself, from all the hearsay, all the interviews from the Facebook stream, and so forth. So I guess I could have made it easier on myself all this time, but you'll learn a lot more doing the hard work yourself. So it's really fulfilling to see that someone else with lots of experience in this area has put together something similar to what I put together. Maybe you like the colors he used a little better, and he has the little flags, which are cool too. So let's take this information and go plug it back into my spreadsheet so that we can compare to my previous predictions and see how I did. So, spoiler alert, you can see it on the screen already, the podium, and before we go into the analysis, I'll tell you from the beginning without clickbaiting you into forcing you to watch the whole video, although I hope you do anyway. Alexei Novikov becomes, I believe, the youngest ever World's Strongest Man winner of all time. With 47 total points, he comes in first. Tom Stoltman comes roaring up the chain with his Atlas Stone performance and comes in second place, 43.5 points. And I gotta say, in the qualifiers and even a little bit in day one, it did not look like Tom was going to finish this high. JF Caron ends up number 3, so he does hit the podium. Even though he was the favorite by many to win this whole contest, getting on the podium is something to be very, very proud of. And the guy that I was pushing for ever since he made it into the finals is Jerry Pritchett. He comes in 4, super respectable. I think based on the analysis that Big Loz did, the best Jerry's ever done at Worlds before was 9, so this is a huge jump up for him. His family should be very proud, and I'm very proud. I love Jerry Pritchett. I think I've mentioned this on previous videos. I like his no-nonsense attitude. He's not overly emotional. He just wants to go get the job done. Like when he's asked questions about, so, you've deadlifted, I should look this up so I get the number right, like 1,043 pounds or whatever. He has the number off the top of his head. He knows he's one of the great deadlifters of all time. He doesn't have to get defensive about it or anything. He just says, yes, like I'll win the deadlift because I'm great at deadlift. And I just like his matter-of-fact, no-nonsense, get-the-job-done nature, and I'm so glad that he did so well. Big fan of Jerry Pritchett. Brian Shaw ends up disappointing for all those who wanted him to win his 5th World's Strongest Man title this year. He does not. He doesn't even make the podium, but we do have to give him credit for keeping up the good fight and doing really well in the Atlas Stones to make up a few places and get up to 5th place. He actually only missed 4th place by, a considerable margin. 4.5 points, is it? So yeah, Brian Shaw coming in 5th. Adam Bishop comes in 6th. Kevin Ferris, who was undersized compared to a lot of these other guys, but you could say the same for Novikov. Kevin Ferris does very well in 7th place, in my opinion. And the guy with the character and the personality that I really like, he's not a braggart. He knows his abilities. He knows he's a well-rounded athlete. And, when he's asked, are you going to go beat these guys? Well, I'll do my best. They're all good competitors, and hopefully my best is good enough. He's just very honest, nice guy, is Ivar Schmuckstellis, and I'm following him on Instagram now. I'm going to follow his career. I really like what I saw from him. He comes in 8th, and Luke Richardson, 9. And then, of course, Graham Hicks, who had to withdraw last place because of that injury. So, how did it all break down? Well, we had the day one events, which I talked about in a previous video. So those were the giant loading medley, the silver dollar max deadlift, and the keg toss. But day two, which we have not yet covered, were the Hercules hold, the log ladder, and then the 6 Atlas stones. So Hercules hold was approximately 350 pounds in each hand in kilograms. If we come back here, we can check on the Reddit World's Strongest Man Excel spreadsheet, so 160 kilos per hand, and that's for time. How long can you hold a Hercules hold, which is how it's typically done. The log ladder were increasing weighted logs. So the first log was 131 kilos, about 290 pounds, and then each log after that would increase in weight up to a maximum 400-pound log, or 182 kilos, which is really heavy. It's not that close to the world record, which I believe is just over 500, like 520 something pounds. But you got to keep in mind they're lifting, 5 logs here. So by the time you get to that last one, the competitor is not fresh anymore, and they're not lifting their maximum lift anymore. So you got to take that into account. And then the Atlas stones, 6 Atlas stones, unlike the qualifiers, which had 8, and they start off at 150 kilos, or 330 pounds, up to 210 kilos, or 462 pounds. Again, it's not lifting one stone. You do get tired along the way, but Tom Stoltman's world record is around 630 pounds or something like that. So you would think he'd have no problem with this, and he didn't. So we'll get to that in a moment. So starting off with the Hercules hold, 10 points ends up going to JF Caron, 52.67 seconds, which is incredible given that they had Mark Felix come do a sort of Legends cameo attempt with this set of Hercules pillars, and he was in the low 40-second range, and he's a world record holder on other sets of Hercules pillars. So JF Caron doing considerably better than a guy who's considered to be the best Hercules holder in the world by many. So amazing for him. 9 points goes to Kevin Ferris, who proves over and over in this competition the mettle of his incredible grip strength. So 49.22 seconds. Again, a guy that a lot of us never heard of before, having grip superior to Mark Felix on an implement that Mark Felix is a master at. 8 points ends up going to Jerry Pritchett here, which is one of the reasons that kept him really high in the standings, 42.99 seconds for Jerry. And then we have 7 points going to Alexei Novikov, the eventual winner of the World's Strongest Man 2020, with 41.63 seconds. We then have 6 points going to Luke Richardson for 35.12 seconds. 5 points going to Brian Shaw at 34.79 seconds. So not great for Brian, given that he specifically purchased a set of Hercules pillars to use in his home gym and has been practicing this. So I think I had him predicted for first here. So disappointing for him, given that he's really been practicing with this implement, whereas I think a lot of other guys have not been able to do that. All right, and then we have 4 points going to Adam Bishop with 28.4 seconds, 3 points going to Ivar Schmuckstellis at 28.17 seconds, and 2 points going to Tom Stoltman, who ends up coming in last with 21.23 seconds on the Hercules, and lots of other people analyzing the results of World's Strongest Man 2020, like, my buddy, one of my mentors and heroes in this area, Big Laws official. He feels like that cost Tom winning World's Strongest Man. You can't come in last in one of the finals events, or more than one, and have a realistic chance at winning. Amazing that Tom still came in second after doing that. And so that was the Hercules hold, and then we move on to the log ladder. So log ladder, Tom Stoltman ends up winning, so he kind of makes up for the fact that he did so poorly in the Hercules hold with doing so well in the log ladder. Everybody expected him to win Atlas stones, but not necessarily. His brother's really known as the presser of logs, but, they've been working out together, and Tom really showed up in this event. 5 logs in 49.45 seconds. 9 points going to Jerry Pritchett. Again, another outstanding performance in this event for Jerry. 5 logs in 51.18 seconds, and from what I've heard, it was a head-to-head sort of thing, and he was up against Novikov, who is very speedy and explosive, and Novikov was off to a great start, and Pritchett just kind of trudged along at his pace and showed his superior power in this event and overtook Novikov in that head-to-head, and that's why he ended up with the 9 points, second place in the log ladder. So then 8 points go to Novikov, who did 4 logs, not 5, in 32.68. We then go to some other competitors who managed the 4 logs and not the 5th. So Ivar Smokstelis gets 7 points, or just extremely well for a guy that, again, wasn't as well known or well regarded as some of the other competitors here. He ends up with 7 points, 4 logs in 41.24 seconds. 6 points goes to Kevin Ferris, another not so well known guy, but when you go back and start doing the research, it's his 3rd world's strongest man. So, a lot of these guys much more experienced than we would have given them credit for. 4 logs in 46.67 seconds. And then we have 5 points going to Luke Richardson, 4 logs in 62.12 seconds. 4 points goes to Brian Shaw. Again, disappointing performance here. Only 3 of the 5 logs in 27.91 seconds, and a really low point total for him in this event. So Brian just overall seeming to be off in almost every event. Not all of them, but a lot of them. It'll be interesting to see in December when this is televised to see if it was a timing thing, did his hand slip on certain things? Was it a focus thing? Because I can't believe that all these other guys are that much stronger than Brian. Then we go to 3 points going to Adam Bishop, 3 logs in 37.02 seconds, and 2 points going to JF Caron, 3 in 37.05. So JF comes in last in the log ladder, like Tom came in last in the Hercules hold. So those two situations may have caused both Tom Stoltman and JF Caron from winning the 2020 World's Strongest Man. Again, you can't come in last and win. It's very, very difficult to do so. You'd have to kind of win everything else for that to happen. And so that's the log ladder. And then, of course, we moved to the Atlas stones, which were reported on very recently. It seems to take a while to get information from Florida, which is in my time zone on my coast for some reason. It's not like I'm waiting to get information from, Hawaii or Japan or something. So it seems really weird that we have to wait so long and look so hard to find these results. But here they are. So Tom Stoltman with another win. 10 points with 5 stones in 19.89 seconds. Let's put that into perspective. 19.89 seconds. Novikov, who came in 4th in this with 7 points, did only 4 stones in about the same time as Stoltman did 5. And Novikov was the 4th best guy in this event. I mean, it's absurd how good Tom Stoltman is at stones. 9 points ends up going to Brian Shaw, which is how I predicted it. I thought Stoltman would win and Brian would be second. And Brian does 5 stones in 28.55 seconds. You got to give him credit. Brian struggled in almost every other event, except in the qualifiers. He did well enough to advance, of course. But Brian has been struggling in most of these events and never gave up. And the last event still brings his best to get a placing as high as he possibly can, even though he didn't podium. So you really got to give it to him for not giving up and, coming through on an event he's well known for being excellent with. 8 points ends up going to JF Caron, 5 stones in 34.03 seconds. So that kind of made up for the fact that he didn't do well on the log ladder. 7 points goes to Novikov, as we mentioned. 6 to Ivars Smokstelis, another great performance in this event. So, he's getting kind of top half points in a lot of these. 4 stones in 20.63 seconds. And then we have 5 points going to Adam Bishop, 4 stones in 24.3 seconds. And 4 points goes to Jerry Pritchett, who didn't do well. So this might have cost Jerry the podium. Jerry missed the podium by 2 points. So if he could have beaten two of these guys, he may have made the podium. And so, unfortunately, Jerry does 4 stones in 24.53 seconds. How far off was he? So let's see. About 4 seconds off, probably, from making the podium. That's substantial. 4 seconds isn't nothing. So I don't know if he could have made that up, but that looks like that cost him. And 3 points then goes to Kevin Ferris, 4 stones in 24.73. And then 2 points to Luke Richardson, who comes in last in the stones. Only 3 stones in 1802. Again, putting in perspective how well Tom Stoltman did in this. Tom did 5 stones in just a little bit more time than Luke Richardson did 3 stones. So you got to give it to Tom for pulling it through in the end. Have a look at these 6 events for the finals, both day 1 and day 2 on my spreadsheet here. Tom Stoltman won the keg toss, the log ladder, and the Atlas stones. He won half of the events, 3 out of 6, and that's why he ended up in second place. So that's how it all went down. Again, your winner, 2020 World's Strongest Man, Alexei Novikov. Tom Stoltman roars back into number 2, and JF Caron number 3. That is your podium, with an honorable mention to Jerry Pritchett. I can't mention enough how much he's pleasantly surprised me. I'm always a big fan of Jerry. I didn't think he'd make the finals, and I was ecstatic when he did. And really, I was really pushing for him to make the podium and possibly win this, because I really love watching Jerry and being a big fan. So let's look at the predictions and see how I did. First, let's look at the most recent prediction video I did, which is a little bit of cheating because half of these events were done already, and there wasn't that much left to predict, but let's do that one first. I was still far off on some of them, so we can have a good laugh together. So I had said Novikov would win, so I got that right. I had Brian Shaw second. I gave him a lot of comeback credit that he just didn't perform with. And I had Pritchett 3, and Pritchett ends up coming in 4. And I had Caron 4, and he ends up coming in 3. So as of yesterday, I did pretty well, but again, that's cheating because all there were left were 3 events. So I had the winner correct, I had 3 and 4 transposed, and I had the wrong number 2. I had Brian Shaw 2, who ends up 5, and I had Stoltman 5, who ends up 2. So that's how I did from yesterday. How did I do when the finals were first beginning? Possibly not as good. Let's have a look. So I had Brian Shaw winning before any finals event began. Again, he came in 5th, so I was fairly far off there. I had him with 45 points, and he ends up finishing with 35.5 points, so pretty far off. I made a bad pick there. You got to give Brian, no matter how much he's struggling, the benefit of the doubt based on his experience and past success, right? It's not just experience, but he's proven himself over and over again, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt, and that's what I did there. And we can talk in another video about what may have gone wrong for Brian. So then I had Jerry Pritchett 2. He ends up 4. And then I had JF Caron 3, which I end up getting right on the money correct. So I'll pat myself on the back for that one, although anybody with any experience who was predicting this picked JF Caron to podium, so I'm not unique in that way. And then I had predicted Stoltman 4. He ends up coming in 2. And I had predicted Novikov 5, and he ends up coming in 1. So I transposed Brian Shaw and Novikov. They end up flip-flopping in their actual performance based on my predicted performance. And let's have a look at the rest of the field while we're at it. I had predicted Luke Richardson 6, and he ends up coming in 9. So he underperforms my prediction. I had predicted Schmuck Stellis coming in 7, and he ends up coming in 8. So pretty close there. Adam Bishop, I had predicted 8. And he ends up coming in 6th, so he overperforms the prediction. And then I had predicted Kevin Ferris to come in 9th, and he ends up overperforming the prediction at 7. So what are the lessons I've learned from these predictions? Well, I have new guys to follow that I'm fans of. That's what I got out of all this. I'm following the careers of Kevin Ferris and Ivar Schmuckstellis going forward because they did really well and are very exciting to watch. And among the other guys that I already love to watch, like Jerry Pritchett and Brian Shaw and Robert Oberst, for example, and Nick Best, those are all guys I knew about. These are two new guys that I didn't know about that now that I'm looking at their accomplishments and what they were able to do here, I've become a big fan and want to follow them as well. So, as we learn more about the intricacies of what happened in each of these events, possibly tomorrow, I'll jump back on here and talk in some more detail, and we can do a little more breakdown about what went right and what went wrong. If we don't get that information until it's televised in December, I'll do the video then. No problem. We'll take a look. I want to see if... Because some of these events, Brian Shaw lost by very small margins. So was it he went to go grab the implement, his hand slipped for half a second, and then he grabbed it and was fine, and then that half a second put him 2 places behind the winner? Was it a lot of that, like focus kind of thing? Or stuff like the deadlift where he simply didn't lift as much as the other guys? That happened as well. You can see that here. Novikov, of course, set a record in the deadlift, but Brian Shaw wasn't even at the second highest weight, right? So you had a few guys at 509 and Brian was at 478. You would expect him to be near the top, not necessarily a record breaker, but near the top. So I'd like to see this televised in December, see what went wrong, break it down, not just for Brian, but for all the guys that underperform my predictions. And then hopefully we can do an explanation and analysis of why my predictions went wrong and what assumptions I made that didn't come true. I do performance management analytics for a living, so I'm really into this stuff, and I like to do root cause analysis, and hopefully giving you that degree of analysis is something interesting that you may not find on other channels and you may enjoy. Thanks again for following me, checking out all my videos during this week's World's Strongest Man. I'm glad you were with me. So many of you in the comments section were adding in lots of great insights, and I hope to see you on all my videos in the future. Comment below, please, and tell me what topics you'd like to see me cover going forward, and I'd love to oblige. And once again, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. So if you like this video and haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing using that button right there. And also stay tuned for some other videos that you might love blooping up right there. This one is the one that YouTube thinks that you will like the best, and this one is the one that I think you will like the best. As always, share this with everyone, and until next time, ciao, homie.